Well, guys, who remembers 2 weeks to flatten the curb, 2 jabs to freedom, gradual but irreversible, and all of that tripe that we've heard in recent times? I know for a fact I do, because we now sit on day 616 of 21 days to flatten the curve and save the NHS, despite obviously its job and sole purpose being to save us and not the other way around. Well, as you might know, Boris is back, ruling by decree with his push to make face nappies compulsory. No vote in Parliament until after it's implemented, despite MPs and the Speaker saying that can't happen anymore. So much for that one there, hey? Now, of course, this is related to the new Omicron scariant that sounds like a Decepticon from the Transformers, as I've said before. And all of this despite doctors in South Africa saying symptoms are mild, but that's going to be ignored because fear porn here is number one. Now, naturally, the BBC are all over it like a meningitis rash, as you would expect, despite having South African doctors tell them there's mild cases multiple times. The BBC instead, within seconds, jumped to another so-called expert who gives them the doom and gloom that they love. Obviously, the major flaw with this political move that Boris Johnson is pushing here is the fact that you can self-exempt yourself from wearing a face nappy if you want, and anyone asking you would be in breach of the Equality Act 2010, so it's not a bloody good idea. In fact, it's up to a £9,000 fine just for asking someone their medical shit, as it's literally an offence. The government's own website tells you all the information you need on it, including the fact you do not have to tell anyone your private medical history for any reason. Asking someone if they are exempt is disability discrimination, so not something you want to be done for, let me tell you. Oh, and guys, the reasons for being exempt are bloody numerous, so do with that information as you will. But many shops are actually saying they're not going to enforce it anyway, so literally this rule should be dead in the water. That is, of course, unless the old bill are patrolling shops for markless shoppers instead of solving real crimes. I wouldn't put it past them these days, in all honesty. In fact, I expect this might be part of the reason why the threat of £200 fines for non-maskers is being used at the moment, in the hope that people listen, but I really don't think they will. As it stands, you need a face nappy for shops and public transport, but not for pubs, clubs and restaurants. This makes no sense at all, and even the double jabbed are questioning this level of stupidity. Shit Telegraph articles on this have 4,000 or more comments, almost entirely shitting all over it. Now yes, 4,000 doesn't really sound like much, but usually 1,000 or 2,000 comments is the max that these articles will get. People, it seems, have clearly had enough and they're willing to say it. But then again, can you really be surprised considering how much this is like the 10 PM closing pub times last year and the Scotch egg with your pint, as you might remember? It sounds so stupid that people will ignore it because at the end of the day they're going back on literally everything they've said. This here though tells me it's about testing compliance of the public and not actually controlling the spread as they claim. If people fall in line, more restrictions will swiftly follow, you can be sure. And if they don't, the only choice for Boris Johnson is actual full-on force, and that he might not get away with, it's gotta be said. People will certainly start standing up then, I would bet. Now obviously, all of what I've said there and likely staff abuse could be why Iceland's Co-op and others have said they're not going to be telling their staff to enforce these diktats, the ones thrown out by piss-poor puppet Boris Johnson. Then, of course, we have many people, and double-jabbed Conservative voters at that, pointing out the fact that they can pass legislation to control law-abiding citizens, yet they can't stop illegal boat wankers crossing the channel literally every day or deport convicted grooming gang scum up in Rotherham. Talk about taking the piss out of the public or what? But hey, this is what politicians do, is it not? Nothing more than septic spots on the arse of humanity, as you know.